Hello and welcome to a rather quick and dirty review of the PICTEK PS4 aftermarket controller. The reason I wanted to make this review is while I was looking for a replacement for the DualShock that I had that was basically knackered, I found the PICTEK, and it seemed to have everything that I wanted, and it almost does. So let's quickly run down the list. I'll be overlaying pictures of it as I talk and we go through it. It has a light bar, which most aftermarkets don't. It's wireless. It has a fully working touchpad, which, by the way, is, I think, better than the DualShock's touchpad. It has a turbo button. This only works on the standard buttons, the X, square, triangle and circle, and the bumper buttons. It does not work on the triggers. Its use is limited, I think. I've tried it out. It works fine. Pulses every quarter of a second or so. So if you've got a game where you have to mash A to run, yeah, it'll work for that. But it certainly isn't an auto repeater for a FPS. It's got some really nice chunky sticks, which are offset. So it looks like the Xbox One controller. And an interesting D-pad, which whilst it looks really cool, and it works fine, it has a slight rocking motion that doesn't quite make the connection. So if I'm not sure if we'll pick it up on the mic, but if I press it, like you can see the options for weaponry coming in, and this is Dishonored 2. And I don't know if that's coming across, but if you don't firmly press it, and I don't mean hard, but just firmly, it will make the click noise, but you're not actually getting a connection. It could be just this one. It's certainly not been a problem during gameplay, but it is there, something to consider. It does not have an external connection next to the headphone socket. It does have a headphone socket, obviously, because I'm actually recording this using the controller. The audio was a little quieter. So if you go to settings, devices, audio devices, and just microphone control, you can up that. It may still be a little quiet, I'm not sure. I'm still tweaking with that, but do expect to have a little change if you're used to chatting with friends online. They're probably going to say you're a bit quiet. The big problem for me is there's two. One, it does not have a inbuilt speaker. So if you like that feature, it's not a feature I use too much, but I do like it. Grand Theft Auto and Shadow of War being the ones that spring to mind for using that feature. It has none. It has no inbuilt speaker at all. It seems strange they've included everything else, Rumble and so on, without that. And the other problem I've got is with the light bar itself, and this is specifically aimed at VR. So I'll quickly jump over to Astrobot and explain what the problem is. And so we come to VR with regards to the PICTEK controller, and things kind of fall apart a little bit here. I want to add a caveat before I begin, and that's that I'll try and keep my head straight. Your setup for VR may be 1,000 times better than mine. You might have better lighting, darker, no switches behind you. I've got a kitchen behind me with lights on it. That could be interfering. But as I'm looking down it now, I can see it throbbing back and forth, and if I move it forward and back, it does work, and tilt it. So clearly it has 6-axis in it. And in fact, if I turn it round slowly, you can actually see the moment when it goes, I can't see the light bar anymore. I'm solely going to rely on the 6-axis. And how you know that is if I move it forward and back, which I'm doing, it's not moving forward and back in the actual image, it's just rotating around. And if I come back, you'll see it the moment it clicks back on and says, oh, I see a light bar. Now I can push it forward and bring it towards me. But as you can see here, look how much it's struggling there. The light bar I just don't think is either bright enough or big enough. Now I might actually have a tackle of that and put in a brighter set of LEDs in it, and I even stretch it out a little bit. I might even put the original light bar from the original. There's no reason why it wouldn't work. So yeah, everything else works, but with regards to VR so far, I wouldn't use this for VR. It does work, and if you're playing something like Resident Evil 7, it doesn't matter about the 6-axis or the light bar, because it just uses it as a button input. Look how much this is struggling now. I hope it's coming across in 2D. I'll see when I go to edit this. But with the stock controller, this is solid. It doesn't throb back and forth as it's kind of doing. It's as solid as it is sort of there. So it's a definite star off if you're into VR and you want to use this. And there we go. Now it's just back and forth. This is actually doing better than it was earlier when I was testing it. It was flying all over. See, I'm flying all over the place. Now I'm being a bit more, you know, brave with my movement. And it's actually handling it a lot better than it was earlier. So again, it could be down to just lighting in the room, the fact that it's gone dark now. But I do know my stock PS4 Sony controller handles this without doing that. Further testing will be done and I will update this review, but for VR this controller will work, but not recommended for anything that requires the gyroscope or the light bar. That's great. Yeah, that's it. Underneath, I noticed on mine there are kind of cutouts where it looked like there might have been paddles. And if you look at this picture, you can see there are paddles in this picture. So clearly there's either a model that had paddles or they decided to get rid of them. It would have been nice to use because they're perfectly placed. I can actually feel underneath where they are. And it would be nice to assign them to, say, A or B. So I wouldn't have to take my hand off the joystick to slide in COD, for example. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I think I've covered everything. The one thing I would recommend is keeping your existing controller. The reason I say that, at least initially, is because I could not get this to start my PS4 through the wire. And then I went through the manual, and in the manual it said refer to the manual, which is kind of what I was doing. So that's stupid. And it said use a official PS4 cable. It was like, well, what, yours isn't good enough? So I used my original PS4 cable, and it still would not start. It would not pair with my PS4 off the bat. I had to power my PS4 using my old controller, plug in the new one into the existing wire, pair it, and then it's not been a problem. I can start and shut off the PS4 wirelessly with the new controller. In theory, I could sell the old controller or, you know, give it away, whatever, dispose of it. I'm not going to do that, just in case. But I did read several reviews on Amazon of people complaining that it just wouldn't start their PS4. So if you bought a PS4 used and it didn't come with a controller and you bought this thinking that's a great deal, you may not be able to get it to work. I don't know. Some people clearly didn't have a problem. I did. And I tried several cables and different setups, and I could not get it to pair with the PS4 until the PS4 was turned on with the original controller. May have been user error. Problem existed between keyboard and chair. Just a little caveat there for you to keep in mind. Even if you just borrowed a controller off a mate for 10 seconds, it would be it. Now, I paid £26.49, I think, around $30. So this is a hefty reduction, almost half the price of a standard DualShock from Sony. And I also got a 5% Amazon discount. And funnily enough, the day after I bought it, Amazon had a warehouse sale and was offering it for $22. So you can really get this at an amazing price. And one final thing, and this is just a personal preference, it has LED lit up buttons that are kind of like parallax and deep, and they look fantastic. You can turn them off. If you press the share button at A, it turns the LEDs off. These run whether you're plugged into a cable or not. I think they look great. This is clearly an Xbox designed, themed controller, and if you're an Xbox 360 guy like I was, who jumped to a PS4, then, you know, this is like being back at home kind of thing. This is awesome. It's light. It's certainly a lot lighter than an Xbox One controller is, an official one. But it's not too light. It's about the same weight. It just seems lighter because it's so much bigger. Yeah, and the sticks work great. I did have to tweak my sensitivity settings in COD, but that's fairly normal when you get a new controller. Yeah, this is recommended. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5, and the reason I'm not going to go for 5 is because of the limitations on the light bar that I witnessed, and also the loss of the inbuilt speaker, which just seems like a strange omission, given that they've included the touchpad and everything else. 4 out of 5. My name's Vinny Voodoo. Thanks for watching.